Krupa, Jesuit, coming to you from my room in the Jesuit community here in Chicago. I think this is great that we can continue in this virtual online format to be a praying community of faith from Chicago, St. James Quigley, and be what we've always been, which is a community of support and prayer and sharing our faith, going on now for 11 into 12 years. Your faith over these last 11, now going into 12 years, has continued to be a grace and a support for me. And I'm hoping that in this time of the pandemic and in this time of the need for some racial reform, in a time of division in our country that has never seemed so severe as it is now, and in a time where students and families and so many people are really struggling with the unexpected, because none of us expected this. So it's a time when we need faith and we need community and we need support of one another. So it's just terrific and great that we can continue as the praying community from St. James Quigley, Chicago, over so many states extending across the country and across the continent to continue to share our faith in this virtual way. It's the 24th Sunday in Ordinary Time, and the readings today, particularly I think the first reading from the book of Sirach, which is one of the wisdom books, one of 7 wisdom books in the Old Testament, along with Psalms and Proverbs and the book of Job, and also the gospel reading, which today is from the Gospel of Matthew, are very timely readings for us in this period of COVID. In the Gospel of Matthew, Peter approaches Jesus with a very human situation. He, like all of us, I'm sure all of us at one time or another, are aware of anger or resentment toward other people and a desire for a forgiveness that we can't seem to give. And Peter approaches Jesus and just says, how many times do I have to forgive people? Jesus responds by telling him 70 times, 7 times, and then proceeds to tell him a parable about a king who had a debtor that he was angry at, resentful at, and expected to have the debtor pay up, only to discover that he was moved to mercy when he met the debtor and the debtor explained his situation to him. The king was moved with mercy, so he forgave him and forgave the debt. The debtor didn't return the favor when he met a fellow servant who owed him a lot less than the debtor himself owed the king, and he was not able to extend the same kind of mercy and forgiveness to his fellow servant. And the master, or the king, when he heard about this, became very upset. But you see here in the gospel, Jesus saying to Peter, look, you have to move from your resentment and your anger to mercy. And that is possible when you realize how merciful my Heavenly Father has been to you and forgiven your sins and forgiven your debt. How can you not extend the same mercy to people that you're angry at or resentful about? This theme of anger and resentment, these hard negative feelings that we sometimes have, is also talked about in the book of Wisdom. We have in the book of Wisdom the statement at the beginning, wrath and anger are hateful things, yet the sinner hugs them tight. You know, this whole idea that anger, you know, the author of the book of Wisdom is aware that human beings are somewhat odd. Not only are they angry, but they like to hold on to it. Some people like to hug it, the text says, or holding on to anger. We probably have maybe know that in ourselves, or we've seen it in other people. We say, you know, boy, he holds on to a grudge, doesn't he? He holds on to a grudge for a long time. Let it go. I also would add to what the book of Wisdom is saying there, that yes, sometimes anger, you know, I hold on to it. We also have the other experience, I think, where anger has a hold of us. And that's, both of those situations are hard, whether it's me holding on to anger or the feeling, I don't want to hold on to this anger, but darn, it has a hold of me. and I can't seem to get rid of it. What then, I said that these readings I think are timely because I can't imagine that all of us haven't had the experience in this time of COVID of being angry, and if not outright anger, at least one of its cousins, resentment, hurt, frustration, disappointment, things. I'm so disappointed that things didn't, what I expected to happen this last summer didn't happen. What I'm expecting to happen this fall didn't happen. All of us have had to readjust our expectations. And there's got to be frustration, anger, disappointment, sadness, hurt, grief, loss in this experience of the pandemic for all of us, because it's not what any of us expected. We've had to make so many adjustments. So the frustrations, the disappointments, the angers that come with that are very timely. And so I think the advice from wisdom or the advice from Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew is helpful. How can we help ourselves when it seems that we're holding on to anger, or when anger has a hold of us? What can we do to help ourselves? And I think of three things. First of all, name it. Second, share it. And third, take action in the direction of life. First of all, name it and tell yourself that your anger is okay. In Jesus' time and in the Old Testament time, when they wanted to cast out demons, they needed to know the name of the demon. And once you had a hold of the name of the demon, it was the beginning of healing and a movement toward life because you knew what it was. And so taking off from that, the important thing with anger or any strong negative feelings like resentment or sadness or frustration or disappointment is name it, acknowledge it. And you see that in Jesus in the gospel when in chapter 5 of Mark, he heals the demoniac. But before he moves to healing, he says, tell me your name. And the demon says, we are Legion. Our name is Legion. And once Jesus has the name, he can move to control the situation and take positive action to get out of the negative feelings and to heal the man of his anger. So acknowledging the anger, naming it is a first step, I think, and that's how we can help ourselves. And also it's so important to say and to allow ourselves to realize that the anger is all right. I think as good Catholics, a lot of us learned that you're not supposed to be angry. And we don't like to be angry people in general, but the message that we got was, good Christian people, just, you don't get angry. Well, sure we do. It's not bad, morally speaking, to have feelings. All of us have feelings. The moral situation arises on what you do with the feelings. So anger, strong sexual feelings, resentment, guilt, shame. These are feelings that every human being feels. It's what do you do with the strong feeling that can become the moral issue. And if we need any comfort and a reassurance that it's okay to be angry, all we have to do is think about Jesus. We know that Jesus was angry often. There's the situation where he was angry at the money changers in the temple, as you know, and he flipped over the tables. And his anger there was because the poor were being taken disadvantage of. They were being taken advantage of. They were disadvantaged and they were being taken advantage of. They had to pay a temple tax to the Pharisees who were getting rich off of the backs of the poor, their fellow Jews who had to pay money to use religious services in the temple. This made Jesus angry. And the same anger was expressed by Jesus when he called the Pharisees and Sadducees a brood of vipers. You brood of vipers, you lay heavy burdens on the back of people and you don't lift a finger to help them. So Jesus was angry, and it was a righteous anger. So we have a model of Jesus, the human being, Jesus fully human and fully divine, at times being angry. So anger that is named gives us choices. Once we name the anger, we start to control it. It doesn't control us. And we now have choices to make that allow us to use our own agency and our own skills and our own judgment about what to do with the anger. It no longer needs to take hold of us, and we no longer need to hold on to it once we name it. One of the choices that we can make is the second thing: share it. Who are your friends? Who are the people in your family or in your friendship group that you can share your disappointment with? You can share your resentment with. This COVID thing is so awful. I had to end my internship, or I didn't get invited to this thing, this place that I was going to go, or this program that I was going to be involved with, or this part of my education that I thought I was going to do this year, or these people that I was hoping to see over the summer. There's so many disappointments, and there can be resentments, and those resentments can build up to anger. Well, name it, but then also share it. That's a great thing to do for ourselves, and it's a great thing to be for others, kinds of friends who can listen to our friends who are frustrated, who are angry. We all need that kind of support, especially now in the time of the pandemic. Another person, hopefully another friend that we can share our frustration and anger and resentment with, of course, is God. Take time to be with God. Take time to just say to God, your friend, hey, things aren't going so well. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated. Help me. Be with me in this. And then listen for God's response to you. Because I can't imagine that God does not want to be a companion and a friend to our lives and what we're really feeling and really experiencing. The final thing to say then, beyond saying sharing our lives with friends, sharing our lives with God, in a sense, that's already taking an action in the direction of life. And so that's the third thing. Take action. After naming it, after sharing it, what action can I take? And certainly sharing my frustrations and my angers with friends is taking an action. They say that, our joyful feelings, our delight, our successes, our happiness, when we share it with friends, is doubled. And they say that our negative feelings, our failures, our anger, our losses, our grief, when we share with our friends, are cut in half. So taking that action of sharing our lives with friends and with God, it's certainly an action to be taken. But there's other actions that we might also decide to take. Once I've named my anger and once I've shared it, the advice might be, maybe what I need to do is have that conversation with this person that I'm angry at. Or maybe I need to schedule an appointment with someone to talk about a part of my program, or readjusting my schedule or my classes or my career goals, so that I can be in control of the situation. It doesn't need to control me. What steps can I take to deal with my frustration, my disappointment, my anger? Be active. Being proactive is certainly helping to transform anger into positive directions and positive purposes for my life. We see this in the life of Jesus. Jesus took action there in the temple. When he was angry and frustrated, he didn't let that just develop inside of him into depression and feelings of being blocked. He decided that he needed to protest. We see protests on the street now in the country. Social anger, people saying this is not right. That Black people are not equal to white people. This is not right that women are still second-class citizens. This is not right, that people are unemployed and out of work. This is not right that we don't have access to the things that we need to cure this COVID crisis. And so people will often organize, and maybe that's needful action in the direction of life. People working together to make the changes in the conditions that are prompting the anger. Jesus himself did this in his own life when he saw that the poor were being violated. He took action. So today, with the readings for the 24th Sunday in Ordinary Time, deals with very human situation, the human situation of being angry, being frustrated, being disappointed, being sad, being hurt. And what are we to do with the anger that emerges from the situation that we're now living in our world and in our country, a situation that we can't control? Well, name it, share it, and take action in the direction of life. Um, I hope these reflections on the readings today are helpful. And just know that I send love to you all across the country from our St. James Quigley community and from the team, Father Jerry and Sister Dodie. I hope that the weeks ahead, until we meet again in this virtual format, are full of hope and faith for you.